Good evening and welcome to the return of the Super Sprint Sunday. I'm Jack Prentice and welcome to round number one of season 22 of the Super Sprint Sunday Championship, brought to you by Formula Racing League. We do have a new sponsor, certainly, who's been able to bring up the whole of the second tier up to commentary standard as well. So we'll talk to you about that. That's Ashley Gunning, who has effectively footed the bill for the streaming commentary for that. That is the AM class. As I will just take you through, neatly actually, some of the class changes that you can see. For last season, and indeed all of the previous 3 or 4 seasons, we had 3 classes in the top tier. That has gone down to 2 as the grid has expanded. So you'll see the pro drivers in the white numbers. So Jared Vermeulen and Daniel Crossman, and a new to the championship, Dominic Dvorak in the Mustang that we can see here. They are all in pro. But somebody like a John Goudet, who has had a good day before in the Super Sprint Sunday as a reserve, wasn't he? He won the silver class and actually got pretty close to the overall honours in Monza last season. He and others such as Richard Gearman and Greg Wood, you can see he's gone into the Lamborghini, former commentator himself, Greg Wood, they are all silver drivers. So there's no AMs. They are all in the third tier, or the second tier, and the third in terms of the level, but there is one big championship. There's another difference in these sponsors because for the first time out ever, each race is going to be sponsored by a Patreon member. So Patreon is the link that we've got here, which if you pay £4 a month to our Patreon server, you get added perks such as the introduction to a Patreon-only server, which means you can go and test as many cars as you wish to test. You get priority over your car number, you get priority over entrance into a championship, and you now get a race named after you. So Nico Velban will be sponsoring race number 1, the 20-minute race, and the second reverse grid, that's returned to the championship as well after a couple of seasons away, will be sponsored by Chris Gedman. That's the 45-minute race. So a much maligned it was towards the end, but all of the drivers have actually realised that they've missed it, and the commentators have realised that they missed it because we will see the fastest drivers coming through the field. So if you win the race, then you'll be starting from the very back. If you finish 80% of the race, I think it is, then you will be eligible to start from the front if you end up last. So that is the new change for this season as well. There's a couple of new drivers as well, which we'll take you through in the various categories and in the various classes. So we'll just take you through those now, actually, whilst we've got a couple of minutes before we go into qualifying, which remains a one-shot event. So we can see here Michael Harris in the Mercedes, the purple Mercedes, car 908. He is one of those that's joined the pro setup. We've got Andres Delay, who's time is a little bit skewed by the fact that he set his time in the wet. The Spaniard back in the championship after a couple of seasons away. He's joined by fellow Spaniard Borja Giguere, who is in the BMW. I promise I'll be getting a bit smooth with that, Borja. Please don't worry. He is in the BMW and he's coming in 9th. He's in the pro category alongside Dominic Dvorak that we saw a little bit earlier on in the Ford Mustang. There he is in the white and tan Ford Mustang, with Anthony Perez, who is up in 13th at the moment in another Mustang, which is a little bit more of a popular car, doesn't it, this championship? There was a sea of Ferraris. That has been bopped, so there are only a few Ferraris left in the championship. That has been added, I think it's about 5 kilos, although an admin will tell me exactly whether I'm right or wrong on that one. Anthony Perez is the last of the new pro drivers, and then we go to the new silver drivers. We've got Azim Popov, the Bulgarian driver, back in the championship, having been in the championship, I think quite a few seasons ago it was, if I'm not mistaken. There's one GR in the BMW. He is another new driver in the championship with Bottamarco, who is not present at this moment in time. Bottamarco, but is a new driver in the championship, having been around in the midweek series, so the Taco Tuesdays and the Thursday events as well. Bottamarco, so making the splash in the Sunday Championship for the first time, albeit not here. Adrian Moore is another one new to the championship as well. We'll just try and see if we can find him on. It was in a little bit earlier on, Adrian Moore, so He's another man that's new to the championship, as well as the aforementioned John Gaudet, who's making his full debut in the championship after some reserve outings last time out, with Jakub Vavashka, another one who is not in the server at this moment in time, but we're expecting to see later on. We could see as well, I think I saw Will Friedman in as a reserve option in the Ford Mustang, so one of the quicker drivers on the grid. Between him and Jared Vermeulen, I would expect there to be plenty of action. We talked a bit about that reserve grid as well, and the qualifying, that remains the same. So you'll remember last season in qualifying there was a one-shot rule. That remains the same. The only tweak has been that you can, once you've gone over the line and once you've completed your lap, you are allowed to come in and do an in-lap, as long as that is not a fast lap, and as long as you do not improve your time, then that is all within the rules. So a one-shot lap over the 10 or 15 minute qualifying session. It will vary depending on the circuit, as we see Marco Bracilli now cross the line to start what will be his final lap in the Porsche, and someone who's often very confident and very sure of himself in the Porsche has just pulled off there, so that will be his final lap, and we can expect fireworks when he and Jared Vermeulen meet. They are first and second, that Porsche quick off the line, so if that stays as is for the qualifying session that's just about to come up, then that could be very entertaining indeed. But we'll just see if we can find just another driver. So we've got Adam Sharp there, the Yorkshireman, who's back in the championship full-time after going LNU racing last season. It's very pleasing to see him back in the McLaren and around Cota, one of the more difficult tracks, so it will suit a more cerebral driver such as Adam Sharp, going now into the second sector, getting to that final hairpin now, and this is where the McLaren might struggle down that hill, or down the straight, sorry, with it being so undulating. It might well be that there is opportunities aloft down the straight. Now, plenty of corner cutting issues may be expected, it must be said, coming up in the next hour or so's worth of racing, because the track limits, especially in the first sector, we're expecting plenty of drivers to struggle as that goes on. As we can see now, we've also got actually simultaneously the AM Championship as well is also on our YouTube channel. So this is, I think, an FRL first, if I'm not mistaken. We've got the AM Championship as well as the Pro Championship, Pro and Silver Championship, being streamed on the same YouTube channel. So that's a bit of a first for the Formula Racing League Championship, and it's certainly very good to see. We'll be trying to keep you as up to date as we possibly can on the goings on in both championships, and if you could certainly watch from a multi-screen if that's still possible. I don't know whether it is, but it will be entertaining and interesting to see if that is the case. So as we've got qualifying to start now, and there is a little bit of rain around, so I think a lot of the drivers will be going out and trying to get their lap done as quickly as possible. And you can see in them plenty of drivers as well leaving. That's car 32 is one of the first out. We'll try and see if we can track a driver to try and take you through a lap of the circuit of the Americas as we try and, that's Greg Wood, the former commentator who was left the home for relative comfort of the Aston Martin once again to go in the Lamborghini. So that is one of those that will hopefully pay dividends for the man who had a bit of a controversial end to the championship last season with Jamie Thacker in the AM class. It was in that there was a bit of a hoo-ha at the end because of a collision right at the end between the two. Ended up with Jamie Thacker being awarded the championship due to countback, I do believe. So Greg Wood there will be looking to put that right as he enters the Silver Championship, and a man who I would fancy to be very competitive within that, as well as Jamie Thacker. He's got, I think that's Marco Bracilli behind, who has expressed some dissatisfaction with some traffic in the earlier practice session, but he's got past Greg Wood, so will be the first to set a lap time, the Canadian there in the Porsche. As you can see now, a lot of drivers jostling for position, trying to get a little bit more, well, some heat in the tyres first of all, but also trying to get a little bit of track position, because whilst it's a 2-minute lap, what you don't want to do is be way towards the back of the crocodile just as some cars are coming out to That's finished their lap. Now, they've got a decent window of time because you can see that the rain isn't due for 15 minutes. Now, that will be more like 10, but you've got 8 minutes to go. So as long as you're out there within the next sort of 5 minutes, you should be pretty fine when it comes to the actual, well, being able to set a lap time. As you can see there, Markel and Bristolli going round 5 corner. We'll stay with the Canadian as we're expecting him to be among the quickest, so should be a pretty good benchmark for pole. I think that's Jared Vermeulen behind as well, so those two very close on the track and very close certainly out on circuit in qualifying. So let's see as we go through the final corner now, taking a little bit of time, trying to get as much of a wide edge exit as possible, trying to straight line it as much as possible. The amount of traction that the Porsche gets should provide a couple of mile-an-hour advantage. Now we're going over the start-finish line, pulls the car to the right-hand side now, tries to build, brake as late as he possibly can up that sort of tabletop look, as that's Paul Vidler, another returning to the championship, getting well out of the way there. Now, don't clip the curb too hard because he'll run too wide like he did there. Go through turn number 2, keeps it all nice and planted. The Porsche looking pretty good through the S section now, down a couple of gears as you go left, then right, then left. It's like a slalom skier at the Winter Olympics. Up the hill we go now. That will provide a little bit more of a challenge for the man from Canada. There's Paul Vidler again, up into the second sector. Now that's turn number 9 now. Got to make sure that you don't invalidate your lap time there. Keep the car just the right side of the bollard. He's done that. He's kept himself well within the line. So this is going to be a good opening gambit, you would think, from Markel Bristolli. Going into the hairpin now. Stand on the brakes at about 50 miles an hour. Try and make sure that if you're in the Porsche, you get as straighter exit as possible. Make sure that you do that, and you will be able to carry that speed all the way down the straight. How it undulates, it rises, then it drops, going into the long braking zone that's coming up now at turn number 12, completing the second sector. We won't know how good this lap is until it ends. So, on the brakes now, and it's not going to be a good lap because Bristolli has unfortunately gone off, and that is his qualifying over. Here's Jared Vermeulen now. We're going to pick up the slack with him as we go into the next S section. As you go back on yourself, then back on yourself once again, Bristolli's going to have to recover that. And unfortunately, that is going to be his qualifying over and done with. Now, don't lock a brake and don't go too wide if you're Vermeulen, because you're going to have a bit of an advantage over the majority of the field, especially with one of your main rivals out of the way. Through the turn 18-19 section, keep the car as planted to the inside as you possibly can. Pull the car to the right-hand side. Don't take too much curb through the penultimate corner. And that is a lovely exit going into now the final corner. Hard on the brakes we go. Doesn't upset the car too much. Don't want to hit the sleeping policeman on the inside. What's it going to be for Jared Vermeulen? Across the line we go. And it is a 2 minutes 5.8. A fairly pedestrian lap time by his standards. But that should be enough to at least get him in onto the front row. That's Daniel Grossman, 1.4 seconds off the pace in the BMW. As Greg Wood crosses the line, he's fourth, because Michael Harris has gone third fastest, as has Richard Gibb and Daniel Kazakevich next over the line as well in the McLaren. He's gone second in the silver. Greg Wood's dropped to fourth. Jamie Thacker fifth. As we can see, Alexander Kalugin now across the line. He goes up into third. Excellent lap time there. He's just beaten Popov in the Aston Martin as Michael Harris drops down we go. Will Friedman has gone up into second position in silver, and second position in overall, isn't he? So Will Friedman there, 1.3 seconds off the pace. We're going to try and see if we can get to car number 21. That's the next car across the line. Where is he on here? Can't see. Where has he gone? As car number 21 is coming across the line, that is Jake Handley. So in the Lexus, should be very quick in the straights. You'll expect to see him do well at Monza if we go there. And across the line we go. Jake Handley is going to go up into, well, he's 14th. It's Fabio Travaglioli now across the line. Where does he go, the Italian? Nowhere yet, because it's not quite shown, but he's across the line now. And Travaglioli has gone pole position, half a second quickest by the Italian. And he's another man that can cause Jared Vermeulen, the reigning champion, a few problems. Andres Belli has gone up into fifth position. So the Spaniard, they're doing great things with his return to the championship. It's car 68 who's next across the line, and predictably, because of the way that this is formatted, we can't see him. It's Marcolino in the Nissan GT-R. What's he going to be for Marcolino? He goes up into 19th, 5.5 seconds off the pace. Not the best lap time for him. It's Harvey now. It's Harvey now going through the final corner. final section, what's he going to do? It's not going to be him because it's going to be Paul Fiddler, car number 10, the Ferrari. Similar livery to Jared Munin. Is it going to be the same result? He's gone up into third, so half a second behind the South African, who's been a bit of a mentor to him. And we'll see now what Harvey's able to do. Now, through the final corner, we go. The BMW, is he able to lift himself into the top 10? He is not, because that is the start of a lap rather than the end. Here's Stefan Muller, the German, now back in the championship. Quick on his day, but also quite mercurial in the Porsche. That's a British Racing Green Porsche. He's painted it, so I'll approve the colour. Through the final sector we go now. Can he mount a challenge where his Porsche counterpart Bristolli failed? Through the final corner, it looks, well, he's missed the apex, but doesn't look too bad aside from that. Across the line we go. Where'd Stefan Muller go? He goes 12th. So not his finest effort. It's car 69 coming across the line. That is Johnny Sharp. He is going to come through the final corner. Where's this going to put him in the usually a fully black livery? It's black, gold and white. And I'll be honest, I appreciate it. Johnny Sharp's across the line. He's not going to set a lap time yet. It's Adam Sharp now coming across the line. Where's he going to go? We don't know because he's not yet left the pits. So Adam Sharp has not left the pits. So I don't think he'll be starting. So something's gone all right there for the Yorkshireman. It's like Poshmashil is ever in that Porsche across the line. Where's he going to be, the Czech driver? And he's gone up into 7th. So an improvement there upon last season for the Czech driver. It's now Borja Giguere coming across the line in the other BMW with the white rims. I do enjoy that too. Across the line we go for the Spaniard. Where's he going to be on debut? It's 4th. Excellent lap time there from the Spaniard. And he can be very pleased with that in the BMW. Just a couple more cars across the line now, chief among which is car 963. That is Anthony Perez, another debutant in the championship. Across the line, this is going to be through the final corner in the Ford Mustang. Where are we going to go? 16th. So he's going to be 16th. I would say that is 11th in the Pro class. So a good effort overall. He's outpaced a couple of Pro drivers. And I think there's just a few more to go. Car number 4 is Harvey. Now through the final corner, what's this going to be for the Englishman in silver? He's one of the more combative drivers on the grid. Certainly action every time you look with him. Through the final corner we go. And across the line it's going to be... It's 19th. So that is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in class for Harvey in what is a fairly foreign car to him. So a good lap time there. And I think that might be qualifying done because car number 94 is Lee Colbitts. I think he's the last man over the line along with Johnny Sharp. So Johnny Sharp is going to be next, and then we'll go to Lee Colbitts as it's going to start raining any moment now. So anybody else that's out there, if you're just starting a lap time, you're a bit too late. Gordon Brown may be out there. Is he car 34? No, I don't think he is. That is certainly not mine. So that must be Posh Visual. So Sharp through the final corner. We've given him the big one once. What's it going to be through the final corner? Across the line we go, and it's going to be 12th. So that's 9th in the Pro class. Lee Colbitts now comes across the line. Where does he go? He's 30th at the moment. He's 12th. So that out-qualifies Johnny Sharp, and that's 4th in the silver class. So had a rotten run, didn't it, at the start last season before rescuing it and actually finishing rather well in the silver championship. Lee Colbitts starts as he means to go on with 4th position. Only a 10th off of pole position in class, which was Gordon Brown, unseen by us, out-qualifying Alexander Glugin, who we did see put in that excellent lap time to start in the top 10 overall.
we have some wet conditions. Remember that curbs are slippery and watch your braking distance.
And welcome back to round number one of the Super Sprint Sunday Tier number 1 Pro and Silver Championship. And look at what we have here. The best drivers in the championship on a short formation lap are going to be facing wet conditions. So 31 drivers it will be going through what will be some very challenging opening corners, especially with the track looking as it is. It's going to be very wet indeed. Lots of spray and lots of potential for carnage, especially with 3 of the quickest drivers starting towards the back. I'll just take you through the grid now, actually. Fabio Travaglioli takes pole position on his return to the championship following various issues last season, and we wish him well. Jan Vermeulen is second, the championship winner for the last, it feels like, umpteen times. The South African driver will start from second. Paul Vidler is in third position on his return to the championship, with Borja Giguere in fourth on his debut. Reserve Will Friedman is in fifth, ahead of Daniel Crossman in sixth, with Andres Delay in seventh, ahead of Vaclav Pospisil. Silver pole is taken by Gordon Brown in ninth. He is ahead of Alex Kalugin by the barest of margins. It's Asen Popov in 11th. He's third in silver, with Lee Colpitts, who was only a 10th off of pole in the Silver Championship. He's fourth in silver, 12th overall. Johnny Sharp's 13th, ahead of Serafino Gabino in 14th, with Michael Harris. And John Gaudet sharing row number 8, 15th and 16th. Stefan Muller is in 17th, ahead of Juan GR in 18th, with row 10, Anthony Perez and Richard Gearman in 20th. Renard Serfontaine, championship winner last time out in the silver class, is in 21st, ahead of Harvey in 22nd. Daniel Kazakevich and Greg Wood, who won the AM Class Championship, or no, he did not win the AM Class Championship, he almost won the AM Class Championship in 24th. Jamie Thacker, the AM Class Championship winner last time out, shares row 13 with Jake Handley in the Lexus. It's Dominic Dvorak in 27th, ahead of Mark Alino, 28th. Mark Limbrush is the first of the non-qualifiers, and the Canadian is going to be starting from 29th. That may come into play a little bit later on. Wouter Heimans goes from 30th. The normally blacked out Ferrari is a more blue colour this time around. And Adam Sharp starting from the back. He failed to qualify in that Leeds livery there. The Auctionman will be the first, I think, to be able to, hopefully for his sake, avoid the damage and the danger. We've got 15 seconds to go as the drivers just finishing their setups and their strategies. No form of pit stop. It's a 25-minute sprint, no formal pit stop. So it's only if you think it's going to be advantageous. Looking at the weather forecast, looking at what it's going to do, I don't think it will be. So there will be weather to, we'll be racing all the way to the end. Paul Vidler has had to start from the pit lane. So that Ferrari driver who qualified third, unfortunately, won't be staying there. So Borja Giguere has got at least a bit more of an advantage going into the first corners. He'll have nobody on his inside unless William Friedman there, gets a good start. Now as Travaglioli setting the pace, trying to see if he can kid the kidder himself, Jared Vermeulen, going through the final corner. And we're waiting for 25 minutes of racing to get underway. We're waiting for the grid to form up at the back, and we're waiting some more. There we go, 30 cars all round the final corner. It's just about the line, and we're not yet. We're just going to the line now, and we can see the marshal with the green flag, and he's going to wave his green flag. No, he isn't, and it's go, 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 go. And Fabio Travaglioli gets a good start. He gets ahead of Jared Vermeulen, but Vermeulen's going to have a run around the outside. Borja Giguere is having a look into third position. That is Will Friedman. Giguere's dropped back a little bit, but it looks like Travaglioli's held on for the moment as Giguere and Friedman go side by side. Daniel Crossman looks like he's had a decent start too. He's doing battle with the McLaren. That must be Andres Delay. Andres Delay has gone up into fifth position, I think. No danger at the back at the moment. I think there's a couple of drivers who've dropped back, but there's no issues there as we go through the first sector already. So we'll have a bit of an idea. Lee Colpitts has had an excellent start. He's gone up from 12th to 7th. He leads the silver class. He's ahead of Gordon Brown. Will Friedman's in strife somewhere. He's gone off the Frenchman and off and into the weeds. He goes behind the Audi. That must be Gordon Brown. Alexander Kalugin remains in 10th. Third in class, though, so the Russian will like that very much. We can see Will Friedman going up the inside, taking all sorts of risks on the curb. But he gets past Gordon Brown. He's going to have more to deal with him because Kalugin is coming up the inside. No, he isn't. That's Popov. Popov in the Aston Martin Serafino Gabino's there as well, and that's all going to sort itself out. Look at the concertina effect there. Who's that? That's a Porsche. That's Vaclav Bospraju. He was sick. He's not sick anymore. He's dropped way back, the Czech driver, and he'll be, well, I think he'll be struggling to stay in the top 20 with that. It looks like he was in the wall. Don't know how it happened. And we go now to the lead battle. It's Jan Vermeulen on the back of Fabio Travaglioni, the Italian. Not going to get a moment's peace, is he? As Vermeulen goes up the inside. Is he going to Carlos Sainz it? He is. Up the inside he goes. Is he going to make it stick? They're side by side. There's a little bit of contact through the final couple of corners we go. Now he's going to have the outside Vermeulen. I think he's going to make it stick, you know. Travaglioni being more than fair, the Italian driver. Now, is he going to be able to run him out wide? He isn't. And Vermeulen's going to have the inside coming into the final corner. He loses it. Travaglioni loses it. They both run wide. The Italian's going to keep the position by fair means or foul, I suspect. The stewards might have a look at that. Here comes Borja Giguere going up the outside. And that's not going to be successful for the Spaniard. But I think the stewards might have a look at Travaglioni dropping it. And unfortunately for him, keeping the position, he Colbit's up into fourth. Well, that's an excellent start there from the BMW driver. He's leading quite comfortably now. The silver class, well, Friedman's dropped to fifth. Daniel Crossman's hit a bit of problems, hasn't he? Because he was up in that top four. And back he goes. He's now side by side once again with Friedman. Gordon Brown is in seventh to be second. The pole sitter of the silver class is second in silver. Andres Delay's gone back. He's been delayed somewhere with Serafino Gabino up into ninth. So he's third in class. He's ninth overall. And that must mean he's got past. He has got past Alexander Kalugin. That's Popov, who's dropped back a couple of positions as well. So the Bulgarian on debut finding out the hard way that it's tough racing in the Sunday Sprint Series. Now we've got, Stefan Muller. Stefan Muller in the Porsche, holding off the attentions of Johnny Sharp for what I think is, well, it must be 7th, 8th, 9th in the Pro category. So Stefan Muller is 7th in Pro category, so it's 8th for Sharp, and it's 9th for Michael Harris, who's 13th, although he's in strife somewhere because he is way back from the pack that he purports to be a part of. So let's take a breath and let's go through that. Fabio Travaglioni does lead, or he did lead. He does not lead anymore because that is Vermeulen, who's got past the Italian, and now Borja Giguere, who's keeping him more than honest, isn't he, in third position. It's Lee Colpitts in fourth, leading the silver class. He's ahead of Will Friedman the Frenchman, and there's contact there. What's happened there? Travaglioni's in strife once again. There's contact between the Italian and the Spaniards, and that's very rarely a good thing when they come together to have an argument, and it's a cut one. It's happened again. So, fifth position for Travaglioni, and he's dropped back behind. That's Will Friedman. That's Crossman in sixth position. We'll find out what happened between the Spaniard and the Italian in due course, I'm sure. Gordon Brown is in seventh. He's ahead of Andres Delay, as we said earlier on. Gabino's in ninth, ahead of Kalugin, with Muller in 11th, ahead of Johnny Sharp. It's Harvey in 13th, ahead of Serfontaine. So Brynard Serfontaine has climbed 7 positions. Good work from the South African there. He was a worthy champion last season in the silver category. And Greg Wood in 15th, so more than holding his own in the silver class, because I make him 7th in the silver class. Jake Hanley's just behind in the Lexus. I think he's dropped back behind a couple of other cars. So Jake Hanley showing his 16th. He's behind Posh Basil. He's behind Adam Sharp. He's behind Marco Libratelli. So the Eco has landed. He's landed in 18th at this moment in time. It's Dominic Dvorak having a look, the debutant in the championship. Now having a look at the Canadian Marco Libratelli. That's not going to work there for Dvorak. Hanley's dropped back to 21st, ahead of Anthony Perez in 21st. It's Juan GR who's in 22nd, ahead of Wouter Hyman. So Wouter Hyman's also making good progress there from the back of the grid. Marco Lino 24th, ahead of Gearman. Richard Gearman coming backwards. Fortunately, it happened to be a habit of his last season that he wouldn't always make good on an excellent starting position. It's Michael Harris in 26th, and not going to plan for the returning to the championship, ahead of Asim Popov in 27th. We can see there it's all battling, all scrapping for the minor placings. Daniel Kazakevich had a good qualifying, didn't he? He looked very quick earlier on. Fortunately, it's not come to pass for the Kazakh driver, with Jamie Thacker in 28th, ahead of Paul Vidler and John Gaudet. It's not been a good day for him so far because he is way towards the back, apart from car number 10. So car number 10, who's that? That's Paul Vidler, who is a lap down. So I wonder what happened to him to cause him to... well, he's 30th, so I wonder what happened to him. cause him to start all that way back. Now we're 6 minutes in, just over, and Vermeulen is taking a bit of a, well, it's as usual pretty much, isn't it? Vermeulen, who is leading and leading well in first position. He is now 5.5 seconds clear of Borja Giguere, who's doing more than a good job, isn't he, in the BMW in second. The similarly BMW shod car is Lee Colpitts. He's third, and he's leading the silver class now, and he's got 4 cars between him and his next nearest silver rival. So it's Will Friedman in 4th position, 5th position now, because the exuberant Italian that is Fabio Travaglioli has got past the Frenchman, who has been forced. Normally, if he does concede a position, it's come hell or high water, but the Frenchman doing a good job in 4th in class. It's Daniel Crossman in the BMW, not going quite his own way. Who's that? That's Andres Dealey with a pretty difficult rejoin, I think, coming onto the track there in the background. We'll have a look and see if that's caused any other repercussions. Can't see that it has. It's Gordon Brown in the McDonald's Audi. I was always make the joke that the Patreon server is £4 a month, which is half a Big Mac that you find at McDonald's. Gordon Brown has rather helpfully led me into that, with the golden arches adorning that particular Audi. It's Gabino in third place, battling for second, with Gordon Brown in the Aston Martin. And I say second, it's second in class rather than second overall, as Adam Sharp there is now fighting with Andres Daly. Daly, who has had a good qualifying, but it's not gone well for him in the race. Although look at his ping. That ping is awful. You can see there the car driving very, very differently to how you'd expect a car to drive. That's going to cause Sharp and Brush Tully and Dvorak and Antley all sorts of problems. They try to work out exactly where he is. It's now Lee Colpitts who's fighting Fabio Travaglioli. My advice to him would be to let the Italian go past, because he's not the race, although Travaglioli is going to have a look down in, not quite the Italian, they're not famed for his patience, but on this occasion thinks wisely better of it, as Will Friedman has dropped back. So he's had coming together there in a little bit of strife with another car potentially, or the curb, or the grass, or himself. And Lee Colpitts there not going quietly from third overall. The Englishman, who's one of the more measured drivers on the grid, and certainly someone you would deem to be one of the more sensible. So if he thinks he can hold him back safely, then why not? But Travaglioli behind is starting to look like an angry bee. So we'll see if he can get past. Have a look there, making the corners that little bit bigger, but no signs of frustration from the Italian. And Serafino Gabino is in 7th position as well, so he's still in third in class. He's still just behind Gordon Brown. We'll take a look at that very shortly, as Giguere has got past Jaron Vermeulen. What on earth has happened there? Borja Giguere, on debut no less, leads the race. So Jaron Vermeulen, well, he's not completely infallible, is he? Because he's gone backwards, and he's now in 2nd position. So the South African has given himself a little bit more work to do. He's got a decent gap behind to Travaglioli, who's still having bother with Lee Colpitts. Colpitts, I think, is going to be past here. They're going side by side through the S's. I'm not so sure about that, chaps, but they seem to survive for the moment. Travaglioli pulling out and showing respect to his English opponent, the Italian driver. And we'll go back to Jaron Vermeulen in just a second as he tries to find a way past Borja Giguere. So going down the hill to complete the first real S section, that topsy-turvy section that is similar to the Suzuka layout that we've just been to in the Formula 1. Now, can the BMW get away from the Ferrari? The Ferrari has been bopped, so it's not going to be quite as quick. I think you can see there that Travaglioli has actually got past Lee Colpitts, which will not hurt the Englishman at all, as he is in the silver class, so he's not going to worry about that. And you can see there the BMW has just waltzed away from the Ferrari there, so the Ferrari's going to have it all to do to get past the BMW in the, as you can see there, Colpitts having another go at Travaglioli. But you can see that the Ferrari down the straight is going to have it all to do, although he's got past him somewhere. We didn't see it. Maybe Borja Giguere got a little bit squirrely, a little bit skew-iff on the exit of turn number 12. That has done for him, I'm afraid. So back he goes. And I think, speaking of going backwards, Andres Daly, his race has taken a bit of a turn for the worse. He's back in 24th, so that might be a connection at play Once again, he's got Richard Gearman and Renard Serfontaine. Serfontaine was 14th earlier on, has dropped backwards somewhere, so the South African has not had it all his own way. And now you've got Adam Sharp on the back of Greg Wood, who is on the back of Vaclav Pospisil. So Pospisil's got back ahead of Sharp somewhere, hasn't he? So I don't quite know how that's all played out, but Johnny Sharp leads that particular gaggle. It's Harvey in 11th, so at the moment we'll see. That looks like Harvey behind, so we'll see exactly how that plays out. Gigaray, you can see there, has dropped back by a second, so I think the battle will be potentially the second place a little bit later on. So a quick rundown of the order. Yeah, you can see that Sharp's up into 11th. Sharp with an E has dropped back to 15th. We can see some more moves up the inside as Harvey goes up the inside of Johnny Sharp going into turn number 1. This is for 11th. As Silver versus Pro, Silver and Silver get together, as that's Greg Wood going into the back potentially of Harvey. Harvey's going to try and save himself around the inside there. They're side by side. Adam Sharp's got back past Vaclav Pospisil, and now Sharp's going to funnel in behind Harvey to make sure that there's no contact, as what a Silver driver doesn't want is a Pro driver to hit him, and vice versa. Harvey and Wood, though, looks like it's got the legs to run and run and run, because this battle for what is in 5th for the Silver class is going all the way. You can see Harvey there's certainly got a lot more grip, hasn't he, than Wood. Is a little bit of a roadblock for both Harvey, Sharp, Pospisil, Brashili, Dvorak, Perez and more, as we can see that we're halfway into the race. So the spotter has done the maths for us. Down the inside, is Harvey going to do the maths on on Greg Wood? He's got the inside. The Lamborghini's now going to have to make sure he doesn't run into the side of Adam Sharp. They're going 3 wide down the straight. I think that Greg Wood has lost out to Harvey in class, and Sharp with an E on the road. So that's Adam Sharp up into 14th. So from the back of the grid, he's up into what will be 13th. Now, is he going to be able to have a move down the inside of Harvey for what would be 12th? I don't think he is. He's having a little look, isn't he? Markley Brustulli, meanwhile, goes down the inside of Vaclav Pospisil. Is the Canadian going to be able to get through? No is the answer. So he doesn't like being held up in practice. He's not going to like being held up in qualifying. So the Canadian has got plenty of fighting to do rearwards and frontwards. And Sharp then, they're going to, Wood's going down the inside there, and there's a bit of contact. Is there potentially? The McLaren's unsettled, and Wood has got back past Adam Sharp. So Sharp there, the gap was open from what I could see, but Wood there going down the inside and making his move there, Greg Wood. That won't please the Englishman or the Yorkshireman there at all. So Sharp now, the man from West Yorkshire, can he have another go at Greg Wood? He's going to have a look down the inside going into the final quarter. Wood's gone wide, and Sharp says, I'll have that back, thank you very much. Know your place and stay behind. Markley Brustulli is going to go to the inside, because that is also Vaclav Pospisil. So Wood has lost out 2 or 3 positions. There's contact there. Brustulli and Pospisil hit each other. Don't quite know which way round that's gone, but the end result is that Pospisil goes into the wall. That is Dvorak that's going around the outside there as well. So the Czech driver is going to be a bit hampered there with the damage to the front end. You can see it's Wouter Hyman's up into 18th in the Ferrari. He's having a piece of the action here with Anthony Perez following in behind. We're going to go to the lead duo now, because Gigaray's dropped back by 2.5 seconds, but he's not being caught at all by Travaglioni. In fact, there's only a second really in the last 3 or 4 laps, so that's not going to be enough, because it's 5 laps to go, I would have thought. So it's not going to be enough for the Italian. Lee Colpitts, meanwhile, has a commanding lead in the silver class. He's 4th on merit. He's 5 seconds clear of Daniel Crossman, who's holding up Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown's managed to shake free of the attentions of Serafino Gabino and Will Friedman. That's call him Wouter. It's not Wouter, is it? It's William Friedman. Will Friedman, the Frenchman, is in 8th position. Crossman's actually been deposed by Gordon Brown, who can now get after, if he can anyway, the BMW of Lee Colpitts. So Lee Colpitts there. Now, if he wasn't engaged, and I suspect he was engaged, then he's going to have to engage more. We're going to go back to the fight for what was the middle of the pack, I think it's fair to say. Sharp, meanwhile, has got away from Greg Wood, who's still fighting with other cars. You can see there that he's been rather rudely moved out of the way by Markley Brustulli. All looked legal on that occasion. That's now Vaclav Pospisil going around the outside. He's going to clamp Greg Wood, who hits the curb and hits the Porsche, and that's more contact between Wood and a pro driver there. It's been a tough couple of laps for him. Dvorak's now going to go around the outside in the Mustang, And is he going to be able to keep it there? I think he is, as Pospisil there's just about able to block him off. Good driving there from the Czech driver. He's going to be able to speed the corner through the final, or the penultimate corner, keep the car within track limits, and I think he is good. Although Dvorak's having another look up the inside. It's car 963 as well. That's Anthony Perez, who has got past Wouter Heimans. But for the moment, that is going to stay as is. Michael Harris is the next car back as well in the Mercedes, so he has got Juan GR behind him. Juan GR in the 21st place. That is in the BMW, so he is no threat for the moment for Michael Harris. As Gigaray 3.1 seconds back and Travaglioli 3.1 behind him. It's all looking pretty easy. Daniel Crossman has got back ahead of Gordon Brown. So Gordon Brown dropping back to 6th, and it won't matter to him from an overall standpoint or from a class standpoint. But the longer he is behind Daniel Crossman, well, I think provided Lee Colpitts keeps it on the road and doesn't get any silly track limit penalties, he's got 7.5 seconds over the next car that matters. I think Lee Colpitts is going to be the silver winner in the same way that I think that Jared Vermeulen is going to pick up where he's left off from about season 3 of this, is going to pick up where he left off in terms of being a winning driver. As Gigaray there, 3.5 seconds back. He's got to re-engage just a little bit because Travaglioli has caught another half a second out of him, so he's got to make sure that he doesn't completely lose focus. Italian, who is not known for turning down opportunities when they present themselves. Travaglioli going through the final sort of, well, it's like a reverse turn 8 at Turkey, if you know. That's the best way that I could describe this complex. 4 apexes, 1 at 2, there's the 3rd, and there's the 4th, and 2.9 seconds back. If it's 2.5 seconds or lower, then Gigaray might have a bit of a problem. So we'll see what that is as he crosses the line now. The Ferrari starting to look a little bit better. Maybe it's looked after its size just that bit better, as the track, which you can see was wet, is now damp, and it's 2.3 seconds. So the BMW might have a problem, because he's losing time hand over fist to both Ferrari ahead and Ferrari behind. The Colpitts is 6.0 seconds behind Travaglioli. That won't worry him, but what will worry him is, well, nothing at the moment, because Crossman there dropping back further, 7.5 seconds back, and he's trying to fight off the powerful but a bit capricious Audi of Gordon Brown. 6th position, which would ultimately, usually, be a guaranteed silver win. It's still a good result for 2nd place if he can maintain it. Serafino Gabino has caught up, though. It was 2.5 seconds, it's 1.2 as those two ahead start to fight. 3rd place for the Italian as well. They call him the headmaster because he is a teacher, so the captain of the ship and the leader of the class in 3rd position at this moment in time. Will Friedman is in 8th. He's 0.7 seconds back as off goes Gordon Brown. Off goes, wide he goes. Can he get it back in? He can. No harm done really, except for the gap between himself and Serafino Gabino. Gabino, what was 1.4 seconds, I would suspect will be closer to 0.4. The Aston Martin now started to come into its own, and he's got Friedman behind, who doesn't normally turn down a passing manoeuvre, but he's got 2 silvers ahead, so I think the Frenchman is going up the inside out because Gabino has lost out. He's missed the braking point, and I think that might just keep Gordon Brown safe and sound for the time being. So Gabino's lost out to Friedman, will remain in 3rd position. Travaglioni, meanwhile, has lost a couple of tenths somewhere to Borja Gigaray, so the Spaniard responding with a fast sector of his own to keep himself well in the running for 2nd position on debut. It must be said, we can see there Gordon Brown still in 2nd position, will drop back because Marcelin Brustulli has got through and up into 11th, so the Canadian's done really well to get through because that was a really tight squeeze. Adam Sharp is up into 13th, remains 13th. He's got Harvey ahead, and he's got Harvey to his left, and he's got Harvey behind for the moment. Can he keep him there? BMW's going to go wide, he's going to go on the curb. Now can Sharp shut the door? He can shut the door. And can he keep it to the inside? He can. And up into 12th goes Adam Sharp, and off to chase after the Porsche of Marcelin Brustulli. Brustulli's done a really good job to get up into, well, I was going to say the top 11, it's 7th in class, so it's a bit of a recovery there. Adam Sharp in 8th and Johnny Sharp 9th in class, and what's been a really competitive race, I think, throughout. You've seen battles at various points throughout the field. 4.5 minutes to go, roughly 3 laps to go, looking at that, as there's really going through the final, well, not the final, that's the 1st sector, the S section, as you can see there, for the South African driver. Not a care in the world. we can see now with just 4 minutes to go, so 2 laps left, you would imagine. Just say through. Gordon Brown's gone off. Where's he gone? He's not off. Certainly not terminal for his race, but he's dropped to 3rd position in class. He's dropped to 8th overall, so we'll see what's happened to the Scotsman. But the Audi not looking a particularly easy car to drive. You can see there he's running wide once again, looking all very squirrely and all very difficult to drive. He's got Stefan Müller behind. That won't matter, but what will matter is Alexander Kalugin, who is in 4th in class, and he's going to look a bit closer than the 4 seconds that it tells us he is. So Brown has got, I think he's got enough time. He's certainly got enough laps to, well, not enough laps. He's certainly got, you know, from a point of view of keeping him behind, he's certainly not got too much in terms of laps to do and distance to do. But we'll see now what arrears the Scotsman has got, or what advantage, the Scotsman has got over Kalugin. So across the 2nd sector he goes. Now, Muller behind, 3 seconds. Okay, so he's 4 seconds behind. He'll be okay, you would think, provided there's no more sillies, as there was just then. So a quick rundown of the order. Jared Vermeulen leads. He leads Borja Gigeray by 6 seconds. It's Travaglioli in 3rd ahead of Lee Colpitts, who's leading the silver class. Daniel Crossman's 5th overall, 4th in class. Serafino Gabino, 2nd in class, 6th overall. The Aston Martin driver doing a solid job there. It's Will Friedman in 7th and in 5th in class. Gordon Brown 3rd in silver, 8th overall, ahead of Stefan Müller, who has gone slightly wide there through the 4 right hand, the quadruple apex that is turn number 20. That is Stefan Müller in 9th, and in 10th is Alexander Kalugin. So Kalugin is 4th in class. Michael Bruch-Tully is 7th in class, 11th overall. He's just ahead of Adam Sharp in 12th, 1.2 seconds back. The Yorkshireman 8th in class, with Harvey in 13th. So is in 5th in silver, and Johnny Sharp is 9th in class. In 14th, 10th in class is Vaclav Pospisil. He's 15th. Greg Wood, meanwhile, 6th in class, but has dropped back to 18th. So he's behind Dvorak and Heidmans. And he's got Mark Harris behind him. So more defending to do for Greg Wood if he feels it's necessary, because of course you can see there that the Lamborghini is he's not got any threat from behind in terms of a class perspective. As round goes, who's that? That's car 232. That is Artem Popov, and that's not the way that the Aston Martin wants to be facing. So he's 22nd, or he was. I think he's dropped behind only to 24th. So it's Andres Delay and Juan Giar who've got ahead. But I think he's safe from Jamie Thacker and Kazakevich and co. Marcolino to drop back. So Renard Serpentine hit a couple of bits of strife, hasn't he? Because that is not where Renard Serpentine wants to be, 29th, as Paul Vidler in 28th has managed to get ahead. So 1 minute to go, and we are on the final lap, are we? No, not quite. I don't think it's going to be the final lap. We'll see what happens when Vermeulen crosses the line. I think there will be about 25 seconds to go, potentially. So we'll see now the South African driver going through the final couple of corners for the penultimate time, and we will ride with him for the moment as Travaglioli has got past Borja Gigeray. So the Spaniard, who was losing time, he responded. It looked safe. He's not safe. He's 3rd. So it's still going to be a good debut for the Spaniard. But 2nd has turned to 3rd. The lead started his final lap with 23 seconds to go. And it's now going to be a Ferrari 1-2 as ever was. Although we had the season last season where there were 6 Ferraris in the top 5. That's not going to be the case, because it's 3 BMWs following line astern. Count them: Borja Gigeray, Lee Colpitts and Daniel Crossman. Crossman, who has done a great job for his fellow BMW driver, isn't he? Crossman in 5th position has held back the advances of Gordon Brown for so long, and he's now got Serafino Cabino less than a second behind. Brown has crossed the line only 1.2 seconds behind Freeman. That's not going to matter too much, and he's still got 3.5 over Kalugin. So the Scotsman's podium looks more than safe and sound. Here's Vermeulen now going down finishing the first sector for the final time, certainly in race number 1, before we go to the race number 2, which will mean that we'll need to go into the ACC lobby. So you'll see a lot of menu music and a lot of server music, and wait for the stewards and drivers and admins to say we're ready to go again. Down the back straight we go for the final time. It's Jared Vermeulen who has got a 9-second lead. It wasn't always that comfortable, but he got past Fabio Travaglioli initially up the inside before the Italian went wide to keep his position, but the Italian eventually ceded, and the South African is going to take victory in race number 1. Around the final corner, or around the final couple of corners, we go into the tight, twisty stadium section before the 4 apex right-hander that's coming up now. To count them with me: 1, we've got 2 apex there, 3 apex. You can see the tall timing tower that's a feature of this track since it was built in 2012. 3rd and 4th. We're now coming up to the penultimate corner for Jared Vermeulen to take the victory. There's a lap car ahead. That won't matter. Paul Wittler's going to keep us going for one last time. That's Marco Lena who's keeping out of the way, and Wittler, I think, is going to finish and try and finish not a lap down. So round the final corner we go, and it's Jared Vermeulen to come across the line to win again. Round number 1. The South African starts with the perfect results in race number 1. Fabio Travaglioni is going to come home in 2nd position to start his season in excellent fashion as well. It was pole, it was the lead for a little while, but it's not anymore. So Travaglioni finishes 2nd, 19.2 seconds back as Borja Gigaray then finishes in 3rd. So I think that was Gigaray actually pulling over, to his credit, to let the Italian through. There might have been a bit of contact there, but all's well that ends well. Lee Colpitts is 4th and wins the silver class. It's an excellent drive there from the Englishman. Daniel Crossman's going to take 5th, but ahead of Serafino Gabino. So Gabino is 2nd in class. Gordon Brown is 3rd in silver, 7th overall. Will Friedman is in 8th and 5th in class. Stefan Muller comes home for 6th in class and 9th overall. Alexander Kalugin is in 10th as Marcelin Bruschulli is deposed from 11th by Adam Sharp. So Adam Sharp comes home for what would be 7th in class, 7th in pro. Marcelin Bruschulli, the Ego, has landed in 12th position, 8th in class. Dominic Dvorak is in 13th, 9th in class. And Vaclav Pospisil is in 14th and 10th in class. Johnny Sharp's 15th ahead of Michael Harris in 16th. Greg Wood finishes only 2/10 clear of Richard Gim, and on that last lap, 17th and 18th. That is 5th and 6th in class for the silver drivers. Wouter Heijmans in 19th ahead of Harvey in 20th, with Juan GR in 21st ahead of Andres Delay. Arsene Popov is in 23rd ahead of Anthony Perez, who dropped back late on that last lap. It's Tony Thacker in 25th ahead of Daniel Kazakevich in 26th. Paul Vidler is in 27th. He's the last one to cross the line, with Marcolino 28th ahead of Renat Serfontaine 29th. Those two hit dramas earlier on. John Gaudet is in 30th on the official championship debut ahead of Jake Handley in 31st. I'll take a quick break now, but don't go anywhere, because the reverse grid race will be something special, with all drivers completing enough laps to be eligible for the reverse grid. It means that we are having a fully reversed grid. I shall see you very shortly.
Green light. Give it all you got.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of round number one. We are in practice for race number two, the reverse grid race. And just to go through the sponsors once again, race number one was sponsored by our Patreon servers, and indeed all the races will be sponsored by our Patreon drivers, of which, if you can leave a comment on the video, you'll be able to find out how you can be a part of keeping this wonderful league going for £4 a month at the entry level. So race number 1 was sponsored by Nico Feldman, with race number 2, the Chris Gedman, 45 minutes. And a special shout out once again to Ashley Gunning, who has stumped up the cash to enable the second tier to be set up and to be able to be streamed by the effervescent Andrea Mattavelli. He is also on the Formula Racing League YouTube, so 2 streams going on at once. You've got myself for the Pro and the Silver, and Andrea Mattavelli for the Chaos that will ensue, and the entertainment that will ensue from the AM pairing. So here is Jaron Vermeulen now on a practice lap. We'll be back with you very shortly. We'll also go and get a drink and go and prepare for the rest of the evening's action. Welcome back to the 45 minutes, sponsored by Chris Gedman, of round number 2 of the, or race number 2 of round number 1 of the Super Sprint Sunday Championship, brought to you by Formula Racing League. Here is a full reverse grid. So let's take a look at your runners and riders. Jake Hanley is on reverse grid pole. He shares row number 1 with John Gaudet. It's row number 2 for Renard Serfontaine. He's alongside Marco Lino in the Nissan. First pro is Paul Vidler. He's 5th on the grid, alongside Daniel Kazakevich in 6th. Jamie Thacker and Anthony Perez share row number 4. It's Arsen Popov and Andres Delay on row number 5, 9th and 10th. Juan GR and Harvey in 12th position on row number 6. Wouter Hymans and Richard Gearman, 13th and 14th. Row number 7 with Greg Wood. Very competitive race for the former commentator and last season's AM runner-up. He's alongside Michael Harris in 16th position in the Mercedes. Johnny Sharp is 17th, ahead of Dominic Dvorak in 18th. We seem to have lost a runner. That's Mark Limbrush-Tully in 19th, with Adam Sharp in 20th on row number 10. Andres Kalugin, or Alexander Kalugin, sorry, is in 21st. He shares row number 11 with Stefan Muller, with William Friedman in the 23rd, alongside Gordon Brown, 24th. Serafino Gabino is 2nd in the Pro, or in the Silver class last time out. He's 25th on the grid, and he is alongside Daniel Crossman in 26th. Lee Colpit's the silver winner last time out. He is 27th. He is ahead of Borja Gigere and Fabio Travaglioni, with the race winner Jaron Vermeulen 31st on the grid. As I think we might now have our runner in 18th. That's Vaclav Pospisil. He completes row number 9. With 30 seconds to go, the driver's looking to work out perhaps whether or not it's certainly dry at the moment, but it does look cloudy, so maybe there might be some rain coming in the next 30 minutes or so. Who knows? We've got 30 seconds to go. The drivers are putting in their fuel, making sure that their race setup is perfected, and we will be ready to go racing in the first reverse grid race for 2 seasons is coming up in the next 10 seconds. Watch them count down before we go on the shortest of formation laps and we will be ready to race in seconds as they go through the final couple of corners before 31 cars are unleashed on the circuit of the Americas for race number 2. And as they go around the final corner, Jake Handley trying to get as much of an advantage as he can in that Lexus. We're coming around the final corner and we will be racing in seconds as we now can see they're all going to line up. That's the final car around the final corner. That is Jared Vermeulen. And now we wait and we wait and we wait for the man to wave his green flag. We're coming up to the start line. We wait, and we wait some more, and we are waiting no longer because we are green. That's a great start from Jake Handley. He's gone up, or he remains in first position. John Gaudet has dropped backwards though. It's Renard Serfontaine in second, and Paul Fiddler's up the inside. There's contact there. Marco Lino's going around the outside. Jake Handley's gone off and wide, but he retains the lead. It's Renard Serfontaine who's in second, challenging. They're going about 10 wide. Going through the second corner, and I think they're all just about going to survive. So it's Paul Fiddler who's dropped back. He's in strife. There's contact there. Paul Fiddler's off into the weeds he goes. So the man who was probably the favourite for the race win is now probably the least favourite for the race win because he's gone backwards all the way to Jared Vermeulen and Alexander Kalugin. So Kalugin's dropped back, and Vermeulen is up into, that's Borja Giguere. There's further contact there between a Ferrari and a McLaren. I think it might have been Kalugin. It's not. I think it might well have been Gordon Brown. He's in strife and he's at the back there, but who has he taken with him? Because I think there was at least one green Ferrari, both green Ferraris. So Jared Vermeulen is towards the back with issues. It's Jake Handley in the lead though. He's being chased by Renard Serfontaine. Renard Serfontaine is going up into the lead. Is he? No, not quite, because the Lexus is going to get the run on him. And John Gaudet is going down the inside for second, and for first. Up the inside goes the Aston Martin. No contact there. It's all very nice and very safe. And going into the second sector, or the final sector, sorry, are we going to see another change for the lead? It's going to be Serfontaine going around the outside again as they switch back and tight and twist and this way and that. And it's covered the inside by Jake Handley. And Gaudet is just about covering the inside, but Handley goes wide and he retains the position. That's all going to be fair enough. No issues there. Anthony Perez also having a look at the third position as the Frenchman there tries to regain what was a pretty difficult start for him. It's Kasakiewicz who's dropped back, so that must be Jamie Thacker who's gone up. Is it? No, not quite. It's Perez who's in fourth position, so that's what the grey Ford was there. Jamie Thacker's dropped or remains in sixth position as Gareth Harvey is up into seventh. The BMW there scuffed a little bit. But so we can see now what's the order. It's John Gaudet leads from Jake Handley in second. Renard Serfontaine is in third position. So the South African, is going up the inside. Is he up the white on Jake Handley there? Or Jake Handley, sorry. It's Anthony Perez in fourth, ahead of Kasakiewicz. Thacker in sixth, ahead of Gareth Harvey. Mark Librachilli up into eighth. It's been a good first lap for the Canadian there, so he's been able to get busy in the Porsche, so he is just ahead of Michael Harris. They're going side by side again because Michael Harris has gone up into eighth position, so Mark Librachilli drops back. Wouter Heijmans is in 10th, a third place start for the Dutchman. Not really going his way, is it? So he was certainly high up, wasn't he? And Johnny Sharp is in 11th. Will Friedman's in 12th, ahead of Andres Delay. It's a good start there for the Frenchman. Will Friedman well up into the top 12 already. It's 1GR in 14th there to Richard Gearman. Daniel Crossman is up in 16th with the fastest lap so far. Dominic Dvorak is in 17th. Lee Colbert has had a good start. The BMW driver there who won the silver podium, or won the silver class just the previous race. He's well into the points paying position, certainly well up into what you would expect to be a pretty strong race. It's got Travaglioni alongside him. Adam Sharp's in 20th, so a good start there for the Yorkshireman ahead of Kalugin. Kalugin's 21st, and the Russian has unfortunately dropped back. Stefan Muller's 22nd, ahead of Borja Giguere, with Jared Vermeulen recovering, and he's got, I think that's Gabino, Vidler and Poshmachil all behind him. Greg Wood has fallen way back. He's now 27th, the head of Paul Vidler, so the Lamborghini there, a little bit of contact there potentially with Poshmachil, but it's all by Marco Lino and Popov are two drivers who have dropped way, way back. So it's going to be a double disappointment for those two, as it is at the moment. But what it's not a disappointment for, certainly not a double disappointment, is John Goudet, who leads on lap number 2, going into lap number 3. And the Aston Martin looks like he's gained a bit more than the 4 tenths that it's all telling us he's gained. So that is Jake Handley in second. He's got the attentions of Anthony Perez in third position, with Renard Serfontaine remaining in fourth. He's got Kasakiewicz right behind him too, and it's Thacker and Harvey to make up and complete the top 7. So the top 6 currently all silvers at the moment, with the exception of Perez in third position. And Brusciulli there, as I think Gareth Harvey might be having a run at Jamie Thacker. He is, but not to any success at this moment in time. As we can see now, that is Brusciulli, who's got back past Michael Harris. So the Mercedes there proving little more than the annoyance for the Canadian, but he's got 3 seconds to make up before he gets across, or happens across, a load of silvers. And then you get to Anthony Perez in third. He's the next pro, so this is second in the pro class at the moment. So Brusciulli looking to get on with it, because he's got a pretty good opportunity. What was fourth in class earlier on, no, not fourth, was he? He was 10th in class, wasn't he? He was 10th overall. He was towards the back of that sort of leading group, wasn't he, of the pro class, but done really well to come through. It was Adam Sharp who deposed him late, odds dropping to 12th overall. He's got Michael Harris behind him, isn't going away. Wouter Heimans isn't going away either, and certainly Will Friedman is not easy for me to say. Johnny Sharp's in 12th, but not really coming under any attack, is he, from delay? So Andres Delay, they're a little bit longer on the brakes, but no issues there whatsoever. I think Adam Sharp's hit strife, hasn't he, because he's gone back to 23rd. So what's going on there? He's not looking particularly scuffed. He's been hit. You can see the back end is bent in, so he will not be too pleased with that. That will affect the handling, not just in terms of the straight line speed, but it will also affect the back end in terms of it having a lot less grip. So that's going to be pretty much a race sentence for him. He's got Greg Wood behind, Gordon Brown recovering as well from earlier difficulties. And the Yorkshireman's got it all to do there to get back into the top echelons where he feels that he should be. Lee Colpitts, meanwhile, has got to deal with Dominic Dvorak, who I think has been passed by Travaglioni, despite what the graphics telling you. That's Borja Guillet, who's just getting past Alexander Kalugin as well. So the pro's dealing with the silvers quite well, and in this case, the silver trying to deal with the pro. Lee Colpitts there, lining up Dominic Dvorak. Dvorak goes to the inside. Colpitts is going to go around the outside of the BMW. Is he going to be able to get the switchback? Perhaps Guillet just about misses him. The Spaniard there, you can see the front end is bent in, and that might be there might be good reasons for that, because Jarrett Williams now having a go at Borja Guillet, who is not keen to give up those positions, is he? He's only going very long on those brakes, Spaniard, so certainly one to watch there. Now, I think there's a few more positions changing. Sharp is in 23rd still, so behind Kalugin there and behind Vermeulen. You can see just on the back of this train there, so you can see as well before that really is a bit of a cork in the bottle as the back end of the BMW of Colpitts gets a little bit loose and a little bit frisky. Down the inside goes Guillet. Is he going to make it a slightly cleaner pass this time around? I think he is, he's going to go down the inside, is he? But Colpitts goes slightly long on the brakes. He drifts his way around the hairpin. That's a fairly stylish way to get out of the way of both Guillet and Vermeulen. You can let them go and cause a bit of chaos and maybe take advantage. So Colpitts drops to 21st. He loses no class positions, I remind you. But that should keep him pretty safe. Anthony Perez, meanwhile, is a man that's not safe, because he's got Renard Serfontaine behind. He's only a 10th behind Jake Handley. So 10 minutes into the race already, up the inside goes Perez. Handley, I think, gets out of the way, and I think that's done about as well as can be done. So Perez now up into second overall. He's the leading pro class driver, I remind you, so he can now have free rein to get after John Goudet. Goudet, who had that brilliant debut, didn't he, as a reserve last season at Monza, in which he won both races, didn't he? Both races, certainly from a class perspective, and was a threat for overall victory for parts of race number 1, wasn't he, at Monza? So Perez up into second. He's got Handley just behind in third. Handley's actually getting a bit of slipstream even in that Lexus, get as much speed as he possibly can. It's Renard Serfontaine in fourth. Now up the inside goes Gareth Harvey on Kazakevich. Bit of contact there because they go 3 wide. Serpentine gets turned by Kazakevich into Harvey, and I don't think there's much that Kazakevich could have done there, but the end result is that Kazakevich drops from 5th to, well, remains in 5th. He drops from 4th to 5th. Serpentine there getting all the very excited. Harvey's now up into 4th. At the expense of Serpentine. Kazakevich in 6th. Marklin Brushtilly's hit strike because he's dropped back to what was 11th. It's now 12th. And the Porsche driver was in the very strong position to get after the class win. Unfortunately, he's now behind Delay, he's now behind Hymans, he's now behind Michael Harris, who's been a bit of a nemesis to the Canadian driver, but he's now in 11th, 5th in class, and can still make progress from there, but his race has just got that little bit more difficult. I think I can see that Marklin Brushtilly he's got a bit of damage to the back end. We'll just see if we can see that going through. Certainly some scuffs on the back. Yeah, you can see he's been hit up the back there, so the Canadian will be pretty colourful about that, as ever he is. Now, Johnny Sharp behind has got Will Friedman. Friedman not a man to pass up an opportunity if he feels he can see one. So, down the inside, I think Johnny Sharp has a bit of damage there, so there may be a tail in that. Now, up the inside goes Will Friedman, and that is 12th and 6th in class for the Frenchman, a reserve driver for this race, but certainly one of the more experienced drivers on the grid. Now Daniel Crossman's going to have a go at Johnny Sharp. Sharp's going backwards. No, Johnny, no, no, is the cry from the Ferrari, and he's going to try and keep the inside there. He does keep the inside, and Crossman is going to have to wait a little bit longer. Travaglioni, meanwhile, from the back row, is in 15th, so he's climbed up well. The Italian, he's got Richard Gierman between himself and Jared Vermeulen. Just trying to look to see if there's any more difficulties from further back. Borja Aguirre still having to fight, I think, with Juan GR, the BMW on BMW, with further BMW behind him. Lee Colpitts, who's in 20th. They've all got past, I think, Kalugin, with Adam Sharp, the other driver, to fill that particular void in 21st. So the Yorkshireman there, a bit of work to do, but certainly getting into his task quite well. That's the Colpitts there, looking very clean in that BMW. Only that little bit of drifting earlier on to get out of the way, effectively, of the quicker cars. So we'll have a look and see, as I think Wouter Hyman's, not Wouter Hyman's, it is Wouter Hyman's got up into 9th now, isn't he? That's Andreas Delay in 10th, and Marklin Brushtilly not able to get away from Will Friedman. So Friedman now, who in 12th position, has having got past a few drivers a little bit earlier on, and certainly made his way through the field. That is now, I think, 6th in class still, so it remains. Perez hasn't really gained anything on the leader. You can see 6.2 seconds back. It's John Gaudet. Looks like he's got the race stand up, and Juan GR is the first driver to get track limits penalties. There's contact there. Meanwhile, whilst we talk about that, between the, oh my goodness me, that's 3 drivers, all who were leading contention and all in strife. So what happened there was Brushtilly and Friedman got together on the entrance into the hairpin. Brushtilly then made a little bit more contact with the Porsche driver. The Porsche driver spins across the track. Did he hold his brakes? We'll find out. But the Italian, Fabio Travaglioni, is the man with damage. There's a bit more damage, I think, there for Daniel Crossman. More turning in shenanigans from the Canadian. There's a little bit more contact there with Daniel Crossman. That's going to fire him up going into the next right-hander. Is there a little bit more contact? I think there is, but I think they're going to get round safely now through this another switchback. That's Jared Vermeulen in there as well. Travaglioni's obviously a bit more hamstrung and a bit more hampered as they crisscross their way through the stadium section. Now Crossman's got the inside lead. Who's that in strife? That is Gareth Harvey spinning his way back around now through the sweeping right-handers. They're side by side, Crossman and Brushtilly, and Crossman is going to be a very cross man because he loses out to Marklin Brushtilly. More and more damage on that Porsche. Will Friedman appears to have gotten away with it. Up the inside, but well goes Daniel Crossman. A little bit more contact there between Brushtilly and Crossman. Now can the Porsche use that front? I think Crossman might need to go defensive here, because the Porsche is going to use that front off of the final corner to maybe have a run up the inside here. Crossman leaves the door open, and up the inside Brushtilly tries to walk through, and Brushtilly does walk through. Up the inside he goes, makes it, although he does lose the back end a bit. And is Crossman going to have another go around the outside through turn number 3? You're a brave man if you do that, and he is not a brave man on this occasion. He loses out and cedes the position. More drive-through shenanigans. That is for Renard Serpentine. So he was third overall. Well, he was third in class. He was fourth in the race. So, and there's another drive-through as well. That's car 33. That's Richard Gearman. So the drive-throughs for track limits are starting to ramp up and up and up, because Renard Serpentine has a drive-through penalty. What was third in silver and fourth overall is going to be a bit of a disaster class from the South African. I think Gordon Brown is in strife, because I can see a yellow car, well, a yellow dot with his number lit up. We'll see now what the Scotsman has to say. He was 22nd. He's not anymore. He's about 27, because that's Marco Lino. Paul Victor, meanwhile, in 28, he's coming back through the field. So the Englishman there has had a bit of a rough ride, really, these past couple of races. Is starting to make his way back through. Serpentine, I think, is cruising back to the pits. And that is, I think, is that Vermeulen going up the inside. So he was 12th, 13th he goes. So I think the South African may be coming into the pits to retire. Richard Gearman is another man who has a sanction to serve as well, and will be doing so, I would suggest, at the nearest opportunity. Who's that? That's a Ferrari that's brown. That is Richard Gearman. So a bad day goes from bad to worse for the Dutchman, and now he recovers and is in 21st, because that is Stefan Muller behind. So Richard Gearman there spinning around, and unfortunately no one's moving out of his way. It's Bruce Tully, meanwhile, who is again at the head of a queue. That Porsche car obviously beaten, battered and bruised, along with the BMW there of Daniel Crossman now. And Crossman, the one problem he's got is that the Porsche still has excellent traction. So 10th and 11th and 9th we are, because Fabio Travaglione is going to have a look at this, isn't he? In his rather beat up Ferrari. Of course, he was the innocent victim. As up the inside goes Jared Vermeulen, down the inside he goes. There's contact there between the South African and the Italian, and the Italian runs wide. I think Vermeulen might just let him go, because he's a bit late on the brakes, and very fairly Vermeulen does let him go. That's what we like to see. We like to see fair try. I think Daniel Kazakevich thinks, I'm going to have a look at this, and I think thinks better of it, because he's got Borja Gigaday behind. Kazakevich's fight is with 15th place Lee Colbitz, who is slowly but surely coming through the field. And he's 5th in class now, as a lot of the silvers have fallen by the wayside up the front, with Goudet the exception really, Jake Handley and Lexus have done a good job to stay in third position as it stands at the moment. Jamie Thacker in 6th as well, having a good run in 3rd in class. It's Kazakevich, he's in 4th, so Lee Colbert's there, looking to have probably the best run possible for a silver driver. He's got Adam Sharp behind. They are stable mates and party mates, so they won't cost each other too much time, you wouldn't think, as they know each other very well. So I think it might well be that Colbitz may let him go if he feels that he's holding the pair of them up. So a little bit of a recap there. Michael Harris is going up the inside of Jake Handley. So Handley's not going to lose out in terms of his class position, because Michael Harris is a pro driver. So Handley will stay. You can see there by the colours that their numbers are in. So the blocks that are grey are the silver drivers, and blocks that are almost a silver grey and white are the pro drivers. So Handley there by letting Harris go, and it will update itself as it goes over the line. Michael Harris there up into 3rd overall, but remains 2nd in class. Perez, as I say, not catching John Goudet. John Goudet just slowly but surely eking out that lead, 9.2 seconds. You have to say the Aston Martin driver had a bit of a rotten run in the first race, doing really well here. Michael Harris, meanwhile, has a shot at the class victory though, doesn't he? So 3rd position he is, and 6.8 seconds behind the leader of class, which is Anthony Perez. So Perez there in 2nd position. There's another drive-through penalty. That remains Richard Gearman, who will come in and serve that, you would think, at the end of this lap, otherwise it's disqualified. Hymans is in 5th, 3rd in class, so the Dutchman recovering what was some difficulties earlier on. Andreas Delay has Will Friedman ahead of him now. So Will Friedman has got ahead of Jamie Thacker, so has Andreas Delay, and Marklin Brush Tully fancies a run at that, because he's got Fabio Travaglione and Jared Vermeulen, which means that Crossman has been shuffled back by Kazakevich and co. So Travaglione looking as more drive-through penalties come. That's Gigaday in the BMW. So podium sitter early on, Jake Handley. Oh no, he's got a drive through. So what was 2nd position in class is going to be almost 22nd position up the inside of Marklin Brush Tully goes Fabio Travaglione. More contact there as the Canadian turns into the Ferrari, but the Ferrari's going to keep the position, I think. And Travaglione is going to go up into 9th, so that is 6th in class. And with Jake Handley moving out of the way very soon because of his penalty, then that will be 8th overall. So Fabio Travaglione get ahead of Markel and Brustulli, and Vermeulen there looking behind. There's a little bit of damage on all three cars, isn't there? But Brustulli certainly carrying the most after various escapades earlier on. Now, Gigaday is going to have to come in and serve that drive-through penalty as well. So the man that was third in the overall, and indeed the silver earlier on, as up the inside there goes Travaglioni. That is on Jamie Thacker. So Thacker very wisely managing the traffic. I think if you're a silver driver as well, I think a lot of the key to this is with Thacker not being among the front runners of the silver car, certainly not this race in terms of pace, then I think if you manage the traffic well, which he is doing, you can see there he's let Vermeulen go. That is a really sensible driving from Jamie Thacker. Yes, we want to see lots and lots of action. Yes, we want to see the wheel banging, but it must be said that Jamie Thacker there managing the traffic expertly. In second place it remains. He's got Brustulli behind, isn't he? No, he's got Brustulli ahead, so that is Crossman there is the next car behind, 2.1 seconds back. Lee Colpitts and Adam Sharp, who haven't swapped places, as Richard Gearman is disqualified because he has failed to serve a drive-through penalty for track limits. So the Dutchman there really ruining his own race. Not really sure how he failed to serve the drive-through penalty, but the Dutchman unfortunately is unable to serve that drive-through for whatever reason, as car 21 clears his drive-through penalty. So that is Jake Hanley, so he'll be coming out way back, as so does car 212. He's cleared his penalty. That is Borja Gigaday. So they are out ahead of Juan GR and essentially Marco Lino. No, Lino's just ahead. So it is Juan GR they're ahead of, as well as Gareth Harvey, who's a bit of a torrid time, certainly in race number 2. So, nearly halfway through, aren't we? So that is 24 minutes left with 45 scheduled on the race. So we are a lap short of halfway through. So I expect this will be 19-20 laps as an absolute maximum, judging by that. Here is John Gaudet. Showing you in because you won't see him for a little while. He's leading the race and he's doing well. Here is Anthony Perez, who's leading the pro class. He will have Botha behind him soon, though, because Michael Harris, Wouter Heijmans and Will Friedman are all in hot pursuit. Andres Delay, meanwhile, is delaying Fabio Travaglioni, but no longer. So Delay drops from 6th place to 7th. Travaglioni looking like the favourite, really, to go and claim potentially the pro honours. I don't think he'll catch the lead because John Gaudet, look at how far he is ahead. But Travaglioni's certainly got a chance. If he's not catching Perez, well, he probably will catch Perez, looking at that, because Perez just crossed the line now. So Travaglioni's got past Markel and Brustulli. He's got past Delay, sorry. He's got Markel and Brustulli in 9th ahead of Jared Vermeulen. So Vermeulen's got to pick his way through. Joey Thacker, meanwhile, has Daniel Crossman approaching. Crossman, who is holding up Lee Colpitts. It must be said, if Colpitts feeling brave, he might have a run at Daniel Crossman, because if he can get one, he's in 2nd already. The winner of the silver class, I remind you, from earlier on, so he started right at the back because he was 4th. He started 28th on the grid was Lee Colpitts, and he's already up into 12th. This has turned out to be a bit of a dream start, certainly one for him to write home about. He's got Daniel Crossman ahead. Adam Sharp is not providing much in the way of outward threat, certainly not in terms of a safety point of view, because I say he and Lee Colpitts stablemates, and party friends, so well, they're in the same party. I made that sound like the in-betweeners. Insert in-betweeners joke here, but they are in the same party, they're in the same lobby, so they will be working together in terms of not hitting one another. So Sharp will only make the move if it is clean. Kazakevich behind in 14th, is 3rd in class, so good start for the man from Eastern Europe, who has really grown in the series. He hasn't always been part of this series, but from about a year ago when he was well off the pace, he's now certainly mixing it, and that's a real side of what Formula Racing League can do for the development of a driver. Car 33 is in the pits. Can't see who that is. That is Richard Gibbon, obviously, with his disqualification. Car 233 is a penalty, and I was just saying about Daniel Kazakevich, and he's taken the long way around into the braking zone. Unfortunately for him, that means that he's going to drop back. He did well to miss Adam Sharp, who I'm sure would have been very clenched in there. He's not actually lost anything, because the only car that's got past him is Vaclav Pospisil. Pospisil, who is in pro, so Kazakevich remains in 3rd in the silver class. Now, drive-through penalties come up, and it's Andres Delay. So what was 7th overall, 6th in class, is going to be quite far back because the Spaniard, fortunately, is going to have to trundle down the pits at about 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometres an hour to European friends, and unfortunately that means that he is going to be taking no further part in terms of the front running battle. It's good news though for Michael Brustulli because he's able now to clear him. He's got Vermeulen behind, so Brustulli being given stern examination by Jared Vermeulen, and as he goes through the first corner, it's a little bit wide. The Ferrari tries to get a bit of a cutback, unable to do so on this occasion. So, can Vermeulen get past Brustulli? Can Brustulli hold on? Because the combative Canadian has been certainly in the wars, and it remains to be seen whether or not he can stay in what is sixth in class, 7th overall, with the hot breath of the current champion and what seems like the forever champion at the moment, Jared Vermeulen. Although he's going to have a run, is he through turn number 9 down the hill? Are we going to go into turn number 10 with maybe a launch up the inside? Brustulli goes to cover the inside. Now is the Ferrari going to try and out-traction the Porsche? Easier said than done. Brustulli drives the corner really well, to be fair, and Vermeulen has to go over Sleeping Policeman on the inside, and unfortunately that's going to do nothing for his run out of the corner. Brustulli drove that really well. Jamie Thacker, meanwhile, has a bit of a queue because that's Daniel Crossman that's got past. So Crossman's in pro, but Lee Colpitts, I think, is taking the lead and has taken the lead of the silver class. So it could be a double victory for Lee Colpitts, who started way back, I remind you. So that is going to be excellent drive, a bit of signal, an excellent drive from the Englishman. Should he be able to hold on? Adam Sharp's going to go up the inside of Jamie Thacker. Now not quite, as Sharp there very fairly pulls out. Side-by-side action between Kazakevich and Kalugin. This is for third in class, and Kalugin shown the outside and the rough stuff by Kazakevich, who defends his position lawfully, if firmly. So, Adam Sharp, can he get past Jamie Thacker? Thacker has been a bit of a cork in the bottle, although he's staying with the Colpitts just now anyway, although it is only the first sort of section that he's been able to get past. But is Colpitts now going to go for the double victory and be the only driver in the field to do it? Because I don't foresee that Vermeulen will be able to do that with his shenanigans behind Brustulli and the earlier coming through the traffic, especially with the gap that Perez and Travaglioli have got. Travaglioli is caught out to Heim, so we'll go to that shortly. Adam Sharp now tries a run to stay ahead, I think, of Vaclav Pospisil. Pospisil trying to have a look up the inside, but not able to make the move stick. Meanwhile, we can see there Fabio Travaglioli has got past out to Heim. So next on his list is Will Friedman in the Mustang. Friedman there, one of the more aggressive drivers on the grid. Frenchman there who is only 3.5 seconds himself behind Perez. Perez, who's not made any impact on Goudet whatsoever. Goudet is certainly having a very good day, isn't he? Because he's going to be taking the overall victory and certainly the silver victory. So we've forgotten that Lee Colpitts, what I said about the double victory, that's not going to happen unless Goudet has a problem. But Colpitts would be still first and second overall in the silver class anyway. And that would be a mighty result if it was to end that way. He's still got Jamie Thacker 6 tenths of a second behind. So he's got to make sure that he can keep the Ford driver back. And certainly he's been able to do that so far. But Goudet, if you look now, he's got 14.5 seconds. There'll come a point where he can boil the kettle and make a cup of tea when he waits for the rest of the field to catch up. So Anthony Perez there has Michael Harris now for company, and Will Friedman, who in fourth position, looking to make that his own. No, Anthony Perez has a drive-through penalty, and what was looking like potentially it might have found it difficult to hold on for the win, but the Frenchman, unfortunately, is going to have to serve a drive-through within 2 laps because of when he took the flag and in relation to where his penalty was. But the Frenchman's going to have a drive-through, and that will drop him way back in the field. I think it will drop him, certainly drop him outside the top 20. Delay is in 22nd as the best reference point. Michael Harris is up into what is effectively the lead, but can he stay there, the Englishman, on the debut in the championship? And the purple shod Mercedes now looking set fair to at least have a real run at keeping the lead. He's got Will Friedman behind him, and Fabio Travaglioli behind him. Travaglioli, who, despite having the damage, you can see there on the front, is still holder of the fastest lap. He's got past Walter Heimans, and Jared Vermeulen has not been able to get past Marcelin Bruschtulli. Adam Sharp is another one into the notebook. Unfortunately for him, he has got a drive-through penalty, so he is unable to stay within the track limits. And unfortunately, he will be, as he's now finally going to have a run on Jamie Thacker, but it's all going to be a bit futile because he's got a penalty to serve, which will put him out around about Borja Guigere, potentially a little bit behind. So that will drop him back to what I think would be 23rd, and suggest he'll be coming in to serve that as quickly as possible. But Perez, now a drive-through penalty victim, in second position at the moment, leading the class, although that is temporary because the Ford Mustang unfortunately has the drive-through and has Michael Harris, William Friedman and Travaglioli for company, although Friedman has got past Michael Harris, so Michael Harris has lost out to the opportunistic Frenchman who is a reserve but is doing a good job in that Ford Mustang, certainly in race number 2. So Perez, you would expect to peel off into the pits. Is he going to peel off into the pits? He is, so he gets out of the way of everybody. That's all very safe. And Travaglioli now is going to try and deal with Michael Harris. So Gaudet might need to re-engage, although he's got 16 seconds and what I would suggest to be 7 laps. So as long as he can stay within 2 seconds a lap of Will Friedman and make sure that he keeps it within the white lines, then he should be safe. As Fabio Travaglioli makes a lovely move around the outside there of Michael Harris. All very fair from Harris, it must be said. Got to praise the fair driving, because it would have been very easy to just barge him off the track. He didn't do that. He allowed the Italian space, and we must praise that, because that's the only way that we can see racing. So Walter Heimans is in 5th. Marcelin Bruschtulli will go up into 6th. 5th in class, with Jared Vermeulen now a place behind, 7th and 6th respectively. Perez, meanwhile, it says 8th. That is Paul Vidler, so he's out in 20th. As Adam Sharp is now serving his drive-through, and I would suggest that he will be out. Oh, he's way back, isn't he? So that is 23rd. I would suggest he is, because that is Borja Guigere, who is the next car ahead. Marcolino is in 24th, going around the outside of Juan GR to retain that position. The Nissan GTR, those two Silvers fighting it out for the very minor placings. Gareth Harvin, Dominic Dvorak have also hit strife. Dvorak, though, is still going around to his credit on championship debut. You can see there that Will Friedman is starting to eat into Gaudet's lead, but not by enough. And I think Fabio Travaglioli might have something to say about potential class winners. There's another track limits drive-through. That again is Borja Guigere. So not once but twice for the Spanish driver. And unfortunately, he will now go almost to the very back, bar those that have been lapped and bar those that have hit significant issues. So Borja Guigere will be coming in to serve that penalty again within the next 3 laps, of which Will Friedman is looking to try and make hay whilst the sun shines. So Gaudet has crossed the line, so we'll see what the gap updates. Now, it's 15.7, wasn't it? So we'll see exactly how quickly the Frenchman's dug into the lead. 16 odds over the line. It is 15.4, so a second. I would suggest that Gaudet, all he has to do is keep it relatively safe, and the Brit will be winning on his return to the championship in his full-time debut. Fabio Travaglioli, meanwhile, is going to have a go, and potentially, if he does take this, if he takes the lead, you would suspect that he'd take the lead of the Pro Championship, with Vermeulen unable to pass Marcelin Bruschtulli. It looks like Vermeulen's got some damage on the back, so I think it might well be that the contacts from earlier might well not just have been frontwards. As you can see, the green Ferrari is not having his best. Well, he's certainly not as quick. He doesn't look as aggressive as you would expect, as angry, as I tend to say, as you would expect of the Ferrari, certainly in Vermeulen's hands. So Crossman there about 8 seconds back as well, so he's got the Colpitts behind. Colpitts looking set fair in 9th position, and what would be a really good pair of results for the Englishman, the man from the middle of England in Lincolnshire. So he is 2nd in class and 9th overall, and that will be what, 1st and 2nd across the 2 races, and that is no small feat in a field as competitive as the Sunday Sprint Series, especially the silver class. So Jamie Thacker speaking of competitive, is holding off Vaclav Pospisil, certainly for the moment. The Czech driver is in 8th, isn't he, in class? He's 11th in pro, and it's been a bit of a return to form because it was a difficult season last time out for Vaclav Pospisil, so this could be a bit of a launch pad, certainly something to build on for the Czech driver. He's got Alexander Kalugin way back, so that's not going to cause any issues. He's behind Stefan Müller, and he is behind Kazakevich, so the fight for third place in silver is being interrupted by the German in pro, with Stefan Müller in 13th position in the Porsche, certainly getting himself in amongst the silver battle for the podium. Greg Wood is up into 5th in class, he's 15th, so he's recovered after what was a pretty tricky start. As soon as I get onto him, he runs slightly wide. That's Perez, who's come out of the pits having served his penalty, so that's Anthony Perez in 16th. He can still go racing for them because he's got Paul Vidler behind, not too far behind, and he has been helped by the fact that of the drivers that have had to serve penalties, the ones that have chosen to serve them have mostly been pros. The silver driver that would stand out for that is fortunately Richard Gearman, who's been disqualified for not serving drive-through penalty. But Greg Wood is in 5th overall, 5th in class, 15th overall. He's got Gordon Brown behind him. Gordon Brown recovering from the early strife that took him out of contention in silver. But if he can get up into the top 5, I think the Scotsman will view that as a bit of a save. Meanwhile, here is John Goudet. He certainly doesn't need a save, does he? Because he's keeping Fabio Trapaglioni behind, who Fabio Trapaglioni has got past Will Friedman. So 15 seconds to make up in round about 5 laps is difficult, isn't it? But the Italian will give it his best shot, and that would put him, well, most likely in the lead of the Pro Championship, because Will Friedman in 3rd isn't in contention for that at the moment. Michael Harris was in the middle of the pack in race number 1. Wouter Heijmans likewise, and Bruce Tully likewise. So for Mullen, the race number 1 winner, 7th overall, so that will be 6th in class. And the South African, unfortunately, has hit a bit of a roadblock against one of his great rivals. Michael and Bruce Tully will be taking all sorts of pleasure in holding off the South African. Now, Bruce Tully in the 6th position overall, 5th in class, holding off from Mueller, with Daniel Crossman in 8th, 7th in class, having a bit of a lonely race, with Lee Colpitts just about in his mirrors. So Lee Colpitts is in 9th position, but 2nd overall. And repeat, it would be a very good set of results. Jamie Thacker, meanwhile, looks like he's keeping the 3rd position in silver, actually pretty safe. Kazakevich in 4th, ahead of Kalugin, 5th, Wood 6th, and Brown 7th. So we missed out Thacker for whatever reason. He didn't appear, I didn't see him. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Having a look at the battle potentially for 23rd, because Marcolino in the Nissan has gotten well ahead. Oh, well, he's gotten ahead of Adam Sharp. Sharp, who's coming back through the field. The Nissan GTR, probably the most frustrating car on the game to follow. On the inside, does he go? No, Sharp does not go on the inside for 23rd. If he can get, no, I was about to say if he can get past, he can maybe get into the battle for delay, and Juan GR, but at the moment he's just going around to bank the points just in case there's another dropped round that's worse. But unfortunately the Autumn, it's all gone wrong from that penalty that he served for missing the, well, for going over the white lines one too many times. It was Fabio Trapaglioni. He's got 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, isn't he, nearly out of Goudet. So Goudet might just need to re-engage the silver driver, who is going to get the silver win by an absolute long chalk, as Anthony Perez again with the drive-through penalties. That's his 2nd one, and unfortunately what was turning into a good, well, what was a good race has very rapidly descended into a nightmare. What was 10th in pro is unfortunately now going to become nearly last, certainly of all of those that are running or have not hit heavy dramas. So a quick recap for you. Goudet leads, which has been the case all the way through. Fabio Trapaglioni is in 2nd, but he leads the pro class and go to that particular championship, and that's because Will Friedman wasn't in contention from the first race. He's 3rd, 2nd overall, or 2nd in class. Michael Harris is 3rd in class, 4th overall, ahead of Wouter Heijmans, who's kept himself relatively clean through 5th position. He is in 4th in class, ahead of Michael and Bruce Tully, 5th in pro, and 6th in the race. Jared Vermeulen, who's been usually subdued in race number 2, unable to get through in 7th position, with Daniel Crossman in 8th, 7th in class, keeping behind a rather careful Lee Colpitts, who is not really doing anything to risk that podium, one would imagine. Fakla Poshbashil in 10th is 8th in the pro class, with Jamie Thacker in 11th, keeping that podium, or silver podium, relatively in check. Perez is going to drop back to 20 odd, 12, 25th, 26th, however many cars are still in the race. He'll drop way to the back, won't he? But Stefan Muller is in 12th, 10th in 9th in class. It's number 19. That is Serafina Gabino. So what was second in race number 1 is going to unravel for the Italian, who had dramas earlier on, didn't he? Shuffling his way to the back of the grid. Well, he's going to be shuffling his way to the back of the pack this time around. Kalugin, meanwhile, in 13th, is up into 4th in class, so he's got past Daniel Kazakevich, who's now got Greg Wood behind, so 15th, 6th in class there for the Englishman, who was the runner-up in the AM Championship last season in rather controversial circumstances. It wasn't a decision that went down that well with the former commentator. Gordon Brown is in 7th position, isn't he, in the silver class. Has got himself back into play, having got past or cleared traffic before, so delay and Popov behind are not really a factor in his race. Paul Vidler, meanwhile, it's been he's had a lot of pace, but it's not really been the weekend for him to show that. So 19th he is. Can he get ahead of Andres Delay to potentially sort of break into at least 11 maybe of class? Fabio Travaglioli 9.5 seconds back, so it's not going to be enough, but it's certainly going to put the rest of the championship on notice, because he's going to win, well, if he keeps it on the road anyway. You know, he had dramas late on, but I think they were induced by Burkhard Gigeray rather than Fabio Travaglioli himself. So Travaglioli across the line at another 8-10. So Gidey might just want to re-engage if he wants to win overall, but he's certainly got the silver class wrapped up. Will Friedman unable to provide an answer, nor is Michael Harris, and it's going to be Marklin Brushtulli who's caught the back of Wouter Heijmans, but certainly further or closer to the back of him is Jarrod Vermeulen. Is he going to have a run around the outside? No, he's not, but might still try and cut back. The Ferrari's been trying to cut back, it seemed, all the way through, and the Porsche hasn't made a mistake, and certainly hasn't made a mistake since very early on in the race. So Vermeulen now, can he find a way through, perhaps maybe to when Brushtulli's potentially more bothered about Wouter Heijmans. Heijmans driving very slowly, it must be said, very un-Heijmans-like. He's normally fast and furious. If anything, he's a bit slow and lukewarm in 5th position at this moment in time. But can Vermeulen potentially use Heijmans as a bit of a pick? Is he going to use Heijmans as a bit of a pick? Because he's going to go down the inside, and I think that might be the move done. Jarrod Vermeulen down the inside, going into the hairpin. All he's got to do is stop better than the Porsche. Now the Porsche turns in a little bit. Now Vermeulen will say he was there. There's contact, but I think that Brushtulli is going to be able to keep the position, because on the run down the straight, Vermeulen's going to have to tuck in behind. South Africa won't be pleased with that. There's history between these two. Can they keep it in check down the straight? Wouter Heijmans going to use this to scamper away and get it gone. Round the outside goes the Ferrari of Jarrod Vermeulen. Is he going to be able to hold it round the outside, or is he going to be able to potentially cut back? Brushtulli covers the inside, and he's going to cover the inside again. No, he's going to keep to the left. So is Vermeulen going to have a run? No, he's going to go to the outside and try and make a bigger corner. That might make a longer straight, a longer acceleration zone, but again, more corners. It's going to rather scupper that plan. So Brushtulli is now going to have another run at Wouter Heijmans, who, as soon as I said that he was slow and lukewarm, he's decided to at least try and scamper away. I think the Ferrari might have a little bit of damage, the blue Ferrari, so it might be some mitigating circumstances. Travaglioli really is eating into that lead, isn't he, Gidey? But Gidey is going to have, I think, probably 2 laps to go. So I think, judging by the way he's crossed the line, I think he's not going to have time to slow up and take the win. Now, Brushtulli is having a run potentially at Wouter Heijmans. Is the competitive Canadian going to have a look down the inside? He's certainly got the traction, but I don't think he's got the straight line speed. But he's going to have to defend as well from Vermeulen, who's not going to let that position go quietly. Car number 4 has a drive-through penalty. That is Gareth Harvey. His race was done anyway, so that is just going to be the final nail in the coffin. As Brushtulli looks like he's lost out to Vermeulen. They're going to go side by side through the X's. Looks like that the Porsche had a bit of a wobble on exit from turn number 1, and the Ferrari not quite able to get ahead. The Porsche does have superior traction, so can dig himself out of trouble whenever he needs to. Now through the S section they go. Vermeulen's going to try and launch another move like he did before. He didn't quite complete it. He wasn't quite as... There was a bit of rough and tumble going into the corner, but I think now Bristoli might just cover the inside, although Vermeulen's got a lovely run, hasn't he? Is he going to make a late move to the inside? He pulls out, but not quite close enough on this occasion. And now Hyman's is proved to be a bit of a problem for Marcelin Bristoli. He'd ideally want to get ahead of the Dutchman, maybe clear the Dutchman as well, to maybe put that car in between himself and Jared Vermeulen, but Hyman's there not having any of it. And certainly the Ferrari carrying a bit of a speed advantage down the straight. That might explain why he's able to be caught so easily in the corners. Now we're just looking at the clock because I think John Gaudet may be able to finish this. Now he's got 15 seconds to go. Is he slowing down? It's not the quickest I've seen an Aston Martin go, so I think he might be slowing down to maybe cross the line a little bit later. So 6 seconds. Is he going to be able to hold off? Is he going to be able to hold off? I think he is going to be able to. No, he's crossed the line with 2 seconds to go. Could that be an error? Because Gaudet had the win done and dusted, and he's gone for another lap. So he's given us a bonus lap of entertainment. Hyman's going to go to the inside. Is he? No, he's not going to defend going into the final quarter for the penultimate time, but he does miss the apex, and I think Marcelin Bristoli is going to have a run at Wouter Hyman's. Hyman's, though, looks like he's quick down the straight. He's going to move to the inside. Vermeulen and Bristoli both follow. Bristoli's going to go to the outside going into turn number 1. Is this going to be the play? He's going to launch it around the outside. Is he going to be able to cut back? He is, because Hyman's goes way wide on the brakes. He loses out 1 place. He loses out 2 places because Jared Vermeulen is also going to mug him. So Wouter Hyman's, there's contact there between Hyman's and Vermeulen. Where's the South African gone? He's in strife. He's off and into the weeds and into the wall. And what's a characteristically off-colour race for Jared Vermeulen. Gets worse and worse and worse. Now there's more damage there, and I think he's spin around and he will not be happy. Is he going to recover? He is going to recover. That is Crossman that's gone past. It's Colpitts that's gone past. It's Pospisil that's gone past. So he drops to 10th, and I think that will be, if my maths is correct, that's 8th in class of an uncharacteristically slow start for the South African. Someone who's not making a slow start, certainly not in the feature race, and certainly not in terms of the second race, is John Gaudet, because it looks like he's going to keep the lead anyway. He's given us an extra lap. This is going to be his parade lap, his victory lap, if you like. He's going to hold off Fabio Travaglioli with some stuff. It looks like Friedman as well has dropped back by 8 seconds, so the Italian really had been eating into the Aston Martin's lead, but it's going to be a good performance there from Travaglioli. He's come from the back to win the pro class, even if he's going to finish second. But John Gaudet started towards the sharp end and has shown why he was out of position. Through the final couple of corners he goes, and he is going to take victory overall, and more crucially for him, victory in the silver class. John Gaudet pulls over and takes the checkered flag for race number 2. Fabio Travaglioli is going to win in the pro class, the reverse grid race, and he's going to take the lead of the pro championship with a second and a first. It's going to be Will Friedman that comes across the line in 32nd in class, and Michael Harris is going to take third position. A good debut for the Englishman. Marcelin Bristoli is going to take a rather eventful 5th place. It's 4th in class for the Canadian, and Wouter Hyman's, who looks like he's nursing quite a bit of damage there from that contact with Jared Vermeulen, who's dropped all the way back to 12th. Wouter Hyman's is going to cross the line in 6th position, 5th in class. Daniel Crossman takes 6th position, and Lee Colpitts is going to complete a great evening's work, as that is 2nd in class from the very back, having won the opening race in silver. Vaclav Pospisil was 97th in pro. Alexander Kalugin is going to take 3rd position, so we've managed to take 3rd position from Jamie Thacker late on. Alexander Kalugin in 10th position, 3rd in silver. Jamie Thacker is in 11th, 4th in silver, and Greg Wood up into 5th. So a good showing from both of the AM drivers leading lights last season. Stefan Muller is in 13th ahead of Arsene Popov in 14th. Kazakevich takes 15th in the end, the Russian getting sent backwards late on. That's Gordon Brown in 16th, which is in 8th position in class, and the Scotsman there leading a few dramas as well. Jared Vermeulen ends up in 17th, the South African driver. So plenty of damage done to his car and race, ahead of Andres Delay in 18th and Paul Vittler 19th. Adam Sharp ends up 20th in the McLaren ahead of 1GR in 21st. Barcolina is in 22nd ahead of Borja Gigere, Serafino Gabino and Anthony Perez, who had the drive-through penalty induced delays coming across the line. We'll just make sure that all of those drivers have been scooped up before we end the broadcast. And a big thank you once again to Nico Veldman and Chris Gebman for their sponsorship of this race via the Patreon scheme, and to Ashley Gunning once again for his sponsorship of the entirety of the sim of the Tier 2, which will allow the AMs to get on the YouTube channel and get their day in the sun as well, which we all like to see. Well, that was an eventful first couple of races. I'm pleased to see the reverse grid is back because it has provided so much entertainment and so much drama. It's a great day for Lee Colpitts and for Fabio Travaglioli as a first and second place in their respective classes takes them to the top of the fledgling standings. Join me again next week where we will see you for more of the same. Thank you very much and take care until then. Goodbye.